Good morning, Zach.
Good morning.
And good morning, my friends at the Aramaic Project-289. This is Sunday, February 13th, 2022. We are the home of retired Professor Zacharias Thundy, and we are going to have an interesting conversation with him. Good morning, Zach.
Good morning.
You recently published 4 books related to early history of the Nazranis in Kerala, and you came out with some bold statements. We used to think that the Brahmin ancestry of the Nazranis is a myth, but you seem to suggest that it may not be a myth at all. So, and the book that you're holding, Nazrani Brahmin Mystery Resolved, whereas seems to be controversial. So could you please explain yourself?
I will gladly do that. Joe, you referred to the Brahmin ancestry of Nazranis as a myth. It is a myth, but a meaningful myth, which I call a legal fiction. Legally, both the Brahmins, or rather the Nambudhiris, as well as the other Brahmins and kings of South India, are recognized the incoming Nazranis from Palestine and Syria as Brahmin. The big question is, how did they become Brahmins? Or to answer that question, we have to go a longer way. When Jesus and his disciples, particularly Thomas, were contemplating to send the persecuted, impoverished Nazranis of Palestine to India for their safety and security, they wanted to know whether under what claims or under what appearance should they go to India. Thomas, I claim, first went over and studied the situation and then reported to Jesus. And he told Jesus, we have to go to India only as Brahmins. If we go there as conquerors, we will not be accepted. As Kshatriyas, if we go there as Vaishyas and Shudras, we will not have any future in India. So the only option for us is to appear as Brahmin. Why so? Because the law of Manu, Manava Dharma Shastra, says there are only 4 races, or rather 4 castes in the world. They are Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Now, who are these Brahmins? The Brahmins are those who follow the rites of initiation according to their holy book, like the Rig Veda. Now, according to the Rig Veda, Brahmins are born from the head of the deity, of Purusha or Brahma. Now, how can this happen for us? Jesus said, well, when you receive Mamodisa or the Greek baptism, you are born from the head. Is that so? Yes, it is. That is what Jesus taught his disciples in the 3rd chapter of the 4th Gospel, which I claim was written by Thomas. Unless you are born from the head, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. So all those who are baptized are born from the head. Now you have to read that chapter carefully to fully understand what I am trying to say. So when the Nazranis came to India, they showed that according to their Veda, that they are Brahmins. The local kings accepted their claim. Why they needed the Brahmins, the Nazranis, because they were great traders. They traded muslin for the needs of the royal kingdom. Now, when the Nazranis first came, they came to the east coast, the Coromandel coast, rather than the west coast, because the west coast was not really controlled by the traders, because the traders wanted to trade also with China, and the right place to do that was the east coast, like Kaveri Bumpattanam and Musulipattanam. Now, in about 200 years, many of those Nazranis from the east coast left for the west coast along with their king, and there they settled down. It was at this time that Thomas came to the west coast the 2nd or the 3rd time. And the Nambudhiris came later, as you all know, maybe about the 4th century or so. When the Nambudhiris came, they were surprised to find Brahmins there. And the Nazrani said, we are Brahmins. And they accepted the claim of the Nazranis as Brahmins. And that led to intermarriages as well between the Nambudhiris and the Brahmins are the Nazranis. The Nazranis kept to themselves following the ritual of untouchability and so on. So there is always a sambandham kind of marriage between many Nazranis and the Nambudhiris. In my own family, my mother always used to refer to her sambandhakar, the people who were related in marriage. And in fact, a cousin of mine on my mother's side said that he is 30% Aryan. I said, you perfectly agree with my claim that there is a marriage relationship or sambandham relationship between us and the Nambudhiris for a long time, up until the Council of Diamber, when the Western Portuguese came and put a ban to such relationships. During this time, when Nazranis were accused, Portuguese, for having more than one wife, our Nazrani ancestors could justify that, saying, well, our Jewish ancestors like Abraham and Jacob had more than one wife. So that practice of bigamy or concubinage, which is the way the Portuguese referred to that, discontinued. And already by that time, they did not need the Nambudhiris. By the way, one significant advantage of the Nambudhiri wedding was that the Nazranis could get a dowry from the rich Nambudhiris, and that explains why we Nazranis flourished in Kerala. Now, related to that is one reason why the Nambudhiris wanted to have Nazrani boys marry their women, because only the oldest Nambudhiri boy could marry another Nambudhiri girl, which meant that many of those girls were without any marriage prospect. The family was pleased that they could marry Nazrani Brahmins. The other custom was bizarre one. The bizarre one was that if a Nambudhiri girl died, she had to be sexually penetrated by someone before she was cremated. But that evil could be avoided by marrying Nambudhiri girls to Nazrani boys. Now, as I said, that practice was discontinued after the Council of Diamber, but probably only on paper. But we continued that, unbeknownst to church authorities, as we may be able to gather from the decrees of Diamber.
So the final, how do you conclude it in 1 minute?
So we were actually treated as Brahmins up until 1599. Then, per force, we were asked to give up our Nambudhiri status to become Christians. We were never called Christians up until the Council of Diamber. We were Nazranis, like Jesus. Jesus was a Nazrani, so were we. So we're all the followers of Apostle Thomas. That is what distinguished us from the Western Christians. And as you know, our conduct to the Western Christians resulted in the oath of the bent cross, or Kunan Kurisha Satyam. We did not want to have anything to do with them. But times have changed. Now we are known as Christians, and we are proud of being Christians, and we are doing very well as Christians in Kerala and all over India.